We ever, if we ever talked about this here, man, but I think y'all expect me to come on here and be truthful and honest with y'all. And to the most part, I do, and I think I do a fairly good job at it. Some of it's entertaining, some of it's uh, funny or whatever. Some of it is just plain old ranting because I'm angry. Some of you may know my story, some of you may not. The way my mother looks at me, I think that'll be a good series because something I know a great deal about. The way my mother looks at me. And as a young man or as a kid, you always want to play that hero for your mom. A child cherishes his mother. But our expectancy sometimes in life takes a turn and you can't make excuses for it. So what I try to do is remember uh, what my instructions were from her. And like I said, as a child, you want to hope, or you have that hope in your heart that, you know, mama's always there. Son could be angry at his father, the father could be angry at the son. Some relationships don't even materialize in the way we think they should. Uh, but I had to bite my tongue plenty of times as a young man uh, without going overboard. But it's been quite a few occasions to where I've done something that I totally speak against today. That includes fight with my mom and stuff like that, man. Certain things, you always remember. You always remember. But what's becomes sometimes unbearable is the way she looked at me. But the reason why I say unbearable because it was not her fault at all, you know, at all. Because I was that same kid that had all the hopes and dreams. I'm gonna do this here for my mom. She ain't, mama, you ain't gonna never have to work, you know. And it's disappointing, to me. It didn't have anything to do with her. I mean, she got dreams too. She wanted this, wanted that too. And sometimes children, honor that. And then sometimes they rebel, which of course is what I did. Because I didn't want to accept none of the blame the way my life was going. It's just like woe is me that and so that love and that care, which is you know, uh she tried to give me that at the beginning, but it was time for her to start showing me tough love. And once again, we come back to that same thought. And but this is gonna be the title. I'm gonna stick with it. I'm gonna stick with it. The way my mother looked at me. And for some of y'all, that doesn't take a sour turn. That doesn't inspire. That doesn't make you do right. Because, like I told you, if I can come on here and cut y'all down, I can come in and take a couple stabs at myself. This is one of those days because I want young men and young women to start thinking before they destroy the relationship, before they make those decisions. That's my hope for them. If they can do that, they may be able to, they could do that, they may be able to save the relationship as it is. But parents aren't always correct. Fathers aren't always correct. Mothers aren't always correct about everything. Of course not. But they learn and they try to put their children first before themselves. And I think that's about the best way to be. So they don't even accomplish some of the things that they do. Some of them make sacrifices here and there in order to prove something. But the one thing I never have to prove is whether my mother loved me or not. I didn't even, I didn't even have to think. I don't even have to think twice about it. You know, I never had to prove that. I never had to show that off. She showed me love every day, and that means tough love too. The way my mother looked at me, and I'm gonna help you. I'm here to help you, but I'm also here to help myself because once I get on and I start talking about these things, I want it to matter so that children do not become spiteful and start lashing out on the world. Sometimes it doesn't have anything to do with parenting. Sometimes they adopt that from outside of the home and they take on the stuff that they see because they think everything is easy. Or if it is difficult, it's not going to last that long. And then the kids wind up making major mistakes that separate themselves from the family, willingly or unwilling, like being locked up, stuff like that. And you know what you think about when you're locked up? And you know what your parents think about when you're locked up? My mama loves me and she didn't deserve that. It'll be something along those lines. Know why I could say that? I could say that because I did it. Like, it didn't even have to turn out this way. Things could have been so much better. But my part of my inspiration comes from the fact that I lost my father when I was when I was in my teens. And I thought that had me, that gave me the right to, oh boy, I thought that gave me the right to be angry. And that wasn't the case. I wanted everybody to understand. But the easiest part is it wasn't he wasn't just my father. He was my sister's father. He was an uncle. He's a granddad. So my father don't totally belong to me. So that attempt to try to take on the pain that the family was suffering, like, to me, that was a selfish attitude to take. Whether his relationship with my mom at the time of his death was good or not, guess what? Forget about how she felt about him because she loved him enough to show up while he was on his deathbed. You see what I'm talking about? Tough love. The way my mama looked at me. But what helped me was the fact that the way my father looked at me too. And I remember that walk along the country road on the way to a baseball game. I remember. He said, "Son, you ain't got to tell me. I want to just stop talking. It's something I need to tell you." And that was the first time I ever seen my father on his knees where he took his shades off. And I knew that it was going to hit. And it was getting ready to hit hard. Long before his death. I might have been, you want me to guess about the walk, the age, oh boy, the age I was when I walked with my father. Wasn't last time we walked the talk, but this one was all important because, like I say, he knelt down and took his shades off. So I ain't even worried about all the other stuff. You're gonna be a young man, but whatever you do, you take care of your mama and your sister. Now, I can't tell you whether that man was prophetic or not because I was still a kid. And guess what I understood? He ain't never had to say that again. Did I disappoint him or do I believe I did? Yeah. That's the reason for this quote unquote lesson because I can't get that time back. You know, sometimes I come in and make a joke about the multiverse, but I think some of us understand the concepts and validity of it, but at the same time, you can't get that time back. And it's what he told me that ran in my heart. So that's where the disappointment come in. Because if you want me to guess, then I would tell you that in some ways my father would be disappointed, and then in some ways he would not, because he didn't see me. He didn't get to see me fall. I was a kid at the time of that conversation, but I saw him again when he was on his deathbed, and I was a teenager, and he didn't say much. Just every time I walked in front of that bed, he looked at me like he looked at me that day. and took his shades off. But this time he was on his deathbed, and he just pointed at me like just pointing, and did it again and did it again, and put his head down. And I looked at him, and I saw my friend in the hallway. He actually, Woodrow Ward, he actually came with me while my father was laid up in the hospital. And I looked at him, but I looked back at my father, and the curtain closed. That was the last time I saw him alive. That was the last time I saw him alive. And he gave me a job to do. Most of this lesson is about a son's relationship with his parents. But the other part of this lesson is the fact that if anybody has a decent parent, one or both, and they show you that tough love, it's love, period. If they show you the good love, it's love, period. Because the one thing that'll hurt you more than anything else is not the accomplishment, it's whether you made them proud. The way my mother looked at me, the way my father looked at me, the way my aunts and my uncles looked at me. That's when it becomes heavy. Then you understand. But I can tell you that when I reflect back in my teens, I really wish I would have took all that stuff to heart because now there's only my mother. I have aunts and uncles, but that responsibility goes back to the mother and what my father asked me to do. And sometimes it's disappointing, you know. It's something about a father, but at the same time, it's something about a mother. Because through all that hell I took her through, she never stopped loving me. And you don't have to say it all the time. You know, you know, good or bad parents, however you look at it, be glad you got one. Because there's a lot of kids out here suffering through the world that don't have anything. Mother, no father, roof or shelter, food, all that stuff. And you know who did that for me until I was a grown man? My mother. And this is the thing she gets. And this is the thanks that she gets. That's why it hurts. That's why I spend a lot of time uh, trying to correct some things. But at the same time, I make no apology because what's done is done. And I'm talking about apology to myself, but my mother deserves an apology. My father deserves an apology. My mother shouldn't have to tell me what to do. I know what is expected of me. You don't have to have both parents in the house. You take the love and sometimes the sadness and the sorrow and make it better for yourself and for your mother because of the way my mother looked at me. I haven't even accomplished 80% of what I think would be appropriate, but nothing materialistic. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the respect that she deserves. That's what we're talking about. The way my mother looked at me. I can't change what was in the past, or better yet, You can't change what's in the past, but you can make some corrections. And any type of mother or any type of son who makes that goal, whether completed or not, it's the notification that I understand you did what you could and you did the best, less or more. You did the best you could. And I respect that from my mother. And to the day I die, that will be my responsibility. I can't think because I got this or got that that she will be okay. It's not what I'm talking about. I ain't talking about nothing materialistic. It's the fact that she went all in to take care of me and my sister. And the last thing I should be doing is giving her my behind a kiss and showing my ass out there in the streets. So it's not about you. So if I can talk about you, I can tell you about what inspires me. And you know what inspires me? The way my mother looked at me, be it good or bad. Wouldn't trade her in. If you gave me $1 billion, I wouldn't trade in. You can keep counting. Still never be enough. Nothing replaces a parent's love, but also tough love. So my mother deserves way more than what the hell she been getting. But that's for me to worry about. But the other part is I can get to come on here. See, this channel is about correction and behavior and honor and decency. So if you ain't got that and you hear this message, now you got it. Now you got it. Because what's the greatest thing about life? It's creating it. And the one thing I can tell you that if you do lose your parent or parents by any means, the rest of your life will be thinking about that, but honoring them after they're gone. And that's sad. But you could do it now. Because if they are good parents, based on what I've been seeing, they deserve a whole lot more than what the hell they've been getting. And you can add that on to anything, any walk in life, or any child. They deserve way more than what the hell they've been getting. So, like I said, if you hear this message and it hits you a little bit, give your mother a little bit respect and honor. Even if you don't know how to, you can try this, and this may be a way to break the ice. Just go, just give her a hug or tell her, no matter what the condition may be, Mama, I'm sorry because I've gotten to the point where I understand what you did, and therefore make it better for the both of us. The way my mother looked at me. So if I can talk about y'all, I could talk about me. So pass the message on. Because on this channel, we're talking about character, but we're also talking about change. But if you look on the news, you don't see the change. I can tell you where you can find it right now, inside you, as a child or a teenager or a grown man. You breathing, right? You didn't came in this world on your own. You got here, right? Everybody you see, walking, talking, and or breathing, has a mother. As far as the community is concerned, explain something to you. The one person, as you've heard in my videos before, the one person that's holding up the black community is the mother. If it wasn't for her, imagine where in the hell we would be. So all props and respects to Bobby J. Best, my mother. And to all the mothers out there, And the majority of them never discount what you've done as a parent. And I'm pretty sure your children can say the same. Because the best thing about them is the fact that you get to watch them, in some cases, become parents themselves. But I can guarantee you, they'll never forget the lesson that you taught them. They'll never forget the love that you taught them. They'll never forget it, be it good or bad. To all the mothers out in the world, you've done your job. You've done your job. Let them go and become young men and young women. Because when they have kids, then they'll understand. And you can sit back and smile and say, you know what? He's right. I've done my job. You got a little bit late, but you got it. Love you. Peace.